Is this the small mail sack?
No. This is Metropolis Mailbag from Action Comics number 384. About half of this stuff is about just Superman crapola.
Mm-hmm.
The first Legion-related letter is from Stephen Newman of Teaneck, New Jersey, which is also where Mort Weisinger lived.
Oh, really?
That's right. Dear editor, my favorite Legionnaires are Duo Damsel and Superboy. We all know Duo Damsel has a crush on Superboy. So why don't you have an imaginary story about the adult Legion in which Duo Damsel marries Superman?
Is that what slash fiction is?
No, that's when Captain Kirk has sex with Mr. Spock.
Oh, okay. It's just regular fan fiction when it's a heterosexual.
I think so. I think the slash means it's gay.
Okay.
But yeah, I don't know. Like Duo Damsel slash super. Are they talking about Superboy or Man? Boy. Well, they're talking about this guy's asking her to,
As adults.
Yeah, to go and marry a Superman.
Oh my God. Just imagine she could nag the Man of Steel twice as much for tracking moon dust on her freshly waxed floors.
This isn't the first time that the editor of the Superman line of magazines has shown himself to be a misogynist piece of shit. And not even the first time in this comic book.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But yeah, it kind of gets me thinking about those adult Legion stories. There weren't really many of them, right? Like they had the one big one. Was there another one after that? Or besides that?
Well, the adult Legion predates that. Like maybe their pretty early appearances, the Legion in general, they were adults. I don't know, like maybe in the first half dozen appearances, they showed up as adults, I think.
Like I know this, like the second appearance of the Legionnaires, they are like the children of the Legionnaires from Adventure 247.
Right. But whenever the oh God, what are they called? The Legion of Supervillains first show up. They are from the adult time.
Right.
And I think maybe some of the adult Legionnaires are in that story as well.
Oh, I see. So, yeah. Like, I kind of remember, the Legion of Supervillains shows up and they bother Superman, right?
Right.
Haven't really read too many of those. I just read an issue of Jimmy Olsen that has the Legion of Supervillains in it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really remember how they got there because it's like the Legion of Supervillains and Luthor, Brainiac they're choosing whether Superman lives or dies or something like that. Yeah, that has the supervillains, and I guess those guys are always from the future world of the Legion of Superheroes, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Until way later, until the 80s or something.
Yeah, I forget when they made that changeover, but I think we kind of talked about that in an earlier episode about how, like, the first several appearances, they were adults, which is why Lightning Lord had, like, white hair, because he was a gray-haired man with a mustache. But when they decided to start having the contemporary versions, that had become like such a part of his look.
Right. Yeah. It was in Superboy 172, where it's dumb. It's some Star Wars kind of shit where they have the origin of Lightning Lord's white hair. He's redheaded at the beginning of that story. He has white hair at the end.
Mm-hmm.
The other two people in the Legion of Supervillains, Saturn Queen and Cosmic King, I don't really remember them doing too much, like in the Silver Age comics, outside of their adult Legion milieu or whatever. But they are in a contemporary period during like the Baxter series first storyline of Legion of Supervillains. I don't know where they came from before that. I don't know what happened to them. Lightning Lord is separate, kind of, but those other two guys, I don't really know what their story is.
Right. Saturn Queen, isn't she from the same world as...
I think she's also from Titan, like Saturn Girl, yeah.
But then Cosmic King, he's like radically different than Rock Kryn. Like, I think he has different powers. I don't even remember what his powers were, but they're different.
But they're from the world of the adult Legion of Superheroes story world.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they do have sort of a tradition of telling stories in that even farther future time period.
Right.
And this guy wants one where duo damsel gets married to Superman. Superman, who always has difficulty deciding who he's going to marry. Is it going to be Lois Lane, Lana Lang, Lori Lamaris, or Luornu Durgo, who doesn't have the LL initials? Probably not going to be her. I don't think he's going to marry her, but maybe in an imaginary adult Legion story. That's like two imaginaries in one.
But he can't marry her because he has to love someone with an LL initials, and if he marries her, it'll be LK.
Right.
Won't love her anymore.
Except then if he marries her, her last name will be L, like Kal-El. So then it'll be LL.
Right. Instead of Kent. Right.
Well, then I wonder what their kids will be like.
Yeah, let's go that way again.
What if she's having an affair with Bouncing Boy when she's married to Superman?
Yes. Yeah.
That eternal question. What if two different guys fuck duo damsel, get them pregnant?
Oh boy. What
if somebody...
So what happens if someone from Gwyneth shacks up with someone from Duoville or wherever she's from? Arg, sorry.
Duoville.
Do they have quadruplets?
6. She'd have to give birth to 6 children.
Like a cat.
Well, but no, it'd just be... I bet when you're in the womb, you're still just like a one body.
Okay.
This really needs some explanation about where like the mass of the subsequent bodies even comes from, or where is it when they're merged together? Does she weigh 3 times as much as a normal girl? Like there's been thought given to all of these powers except the triplicate girl powers. Nobody ever talks about that stuff.
It's always an extra dimensional source, right?
I don't know. Is it?
That's what they always say. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe they're all hollow when she splits up.
The other. You think the middle body is like a regular person and the other two are hollow like balloons?
Well, like all 3 of them.
Right. Like each of them weighs 1/3 of the merged weight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or maybe the one is just really dense. She weighs like 300 pounds.
Like, let's say, for argument's sake, Superboy gets her pregnant, and then she splits.
Consensually.
Oh, of course. They're adults. Superman. Mm-hmm. Well, let's say Superman, not 19-year-old Superboy.
Mm-hmm.
Superman. He is 35 years old. She's 34 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Gets her pregnant.
Little old.
It's the future. You can have children until you're 70.
No, it's fine. 35 is fine.
She's pregnant with the adult Superboy's child. When she splits into 3, and each of her bodies, or 2, each of her bodies weighs 1/3 or 1/2 of the original combined whole, what happens to that child she's carrying? Dead. That's what I think. I think she has to, if she's pregnant, she has to stay merged.
If she splits, well, when the baby would just split too.
I don't think it can.
Oh, because you're saying it's
not developed yet.
Of mixed heritage.
Well, yeah, there's that too. But I think a Kargian baby in the womb is probably not developed enough to split correctly, quote unquote, correctly with its mother. You know what I mean? Like merged mother splits into mothers 1, 2, and 3. Mm-hmm. Does merged fetus, is that able to correctly or efficiently split again into fetus 1, 2, and 3 and in the correct corresponding mother body?
I think so.
Yeah, you think that works?
I think that wouldn't be too complicated. Now,
we're just going to agree to disagree on this one.
If they were splitting in
I hope it doesn't jeopardize our show.
If she split it, if the baby was splitting within her womb to 2 or 3 bodies, that sounds more complicated to me. Like if the mother and child are both simultaneously duplicating, then it's just a carbon copy of the other one. Whereas if the baby is splitting in the one mother, then what's going on with the umbilical cord? Is it splitting too?
Yeah, that's why I think the baby can't split at all. And then I think if the mother splits, it puts the child in jeopardy.
I still don't understand how she lives when her other bodies die. Like, you would think they would all die.
Kinda. I mean, yeah, I think maybe the comic book logic is that, like, you can cut off my hand or my finger or my arm and I still survive. I'm fine. Yeah, I don't know. Like this splitting into 3 separate bodies, but still being one single organism. It's just a little too fantastic, in my opinion.
It's a step too far for you.
I just want real scientific logic in my children's superhero comic books.
Like, what's the evolutionary strategy to that? It probably would end up getting down to something sex related, right?
Yeah, probably the reason you would be able to separate into 3 bodies is because 2 of them will be killed during your lifetime, right?
Well, yeah, in a way, that's why all living things separate, right? Like, procreate, cells divide, whatever.
Maybe you're just fucking sick of your spouse and you separate.
It's the recombining part that's weird, because that wouldn't be a good survival strategy.
Oh, you can split and distract your enemy and then recombine, and the enemy that's chasing the body number 1, now all of a sudden that body's gone, so he's confused, for example.
Well, the way they depicted her in the cartoon, if I remember right, makes it very useful, because like a guy could like come at her with a sword and try to cut her in half, and as he's cutting her in half, she's actually splitting. So in a way, it's a I don't know what I'd call it, but it's a way. It's more useful when it's viewed that way, like as a way to like survive blasts and punches and so on.
Right, like it would definitely be an advantage if some enemy is coming at you and wants to cleave you in twain, and you can just be like, no, look, I'm already splitting in 2. Right. You can relax. Put down your sword. Look, I'll do what you want. Here, I'm 2 people now. There's me, and there's me over here. Right.
She can also kind of telescope outward her doubles. Like, if she wanted to punch someone, like, one would grow out of the other, and it would like propel the body forward.
Oh, right. Like all of a sudden she could be 4 steps in front of herself.
Right. Or 4 steps higher. Yeah.
Is there some like sci-fi movie or something, or a music video or something where there's the figure here and then like multiple bodies grow out like this way, and then like some kind of weird fractal geometry stuff? Do you remember this?
Yep. I do.
What is it?
Is that Peter Gabriel?
That's what my first thought was, but I can't think of what it would be. Peter Gabriel or Talking Heads?
No. I think it was George Harrison.
That's right. It's like when he was Fab or something, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Duo Damsel ought to have the George Harrison superpowers.
Right.
So few have the powers of the former Beatles.
Yes.
She could be in a band by herself.
Yeah, I'm surprised no one's done that yet. Someone probably
Duo
has.
Damsel on bass. Duo Damsel on lead guitar. Duo Damsel on
drums. You gotta have drums, right?
What did John play? No, George played guitar. John must have played bass. What did Paul McCartney play? He played another guitar, just left-handed.
John played guitar. Paul played bass.
Because George Harrison is like the real good guitar player, right? Those other 2 guys, they're whatever. They wrote the songs. They're just a lyricist or whatever.
But I don't know how much guitar action he actually got in the band. I think the other guys ran over him quite a bit.
Oh, probably.
But I guess he probably did the solos. Except when he got like Eric Clapton to do them for some reason.
There's Eric Clapton Beatles songs?
Yeah. Oddly enough, it's While My Guitar Gently Weeps.
What?
You would think that'd be the one where he's playing the guitar.
That's a George Harrison song.
Yeah, it is.
Wait, are you saying that George called in Eric Clapton to play that?
Well, I think it was his idea. I could see how it might not be, since I think there was some weird shit like Eric Clapton was fucking his wife at the time.
Layla, right?
Maybe. I don't know. Was he married to Layla?
Like, the song is like, Layla, you're George Harrison's wife. Layla, I
That's
am
what
having
he's
sex with
saying.
you.
That's what he's saying. Okay. Layla, don't take those vaccines.
I'm a racist piece of shit, Layla. Got me on my knees like a woke football player. I couldn't think of that guy's name. What's that dude's name?
Anthony Fauci?
No, the taking a knee during the football games.
Oh, does he bitch about that too?
No, it's just I'm sure that he would. He's such a
God,
piece
that'd
of
be
shit.
awful.
Hates black people.
See, when you said football, Adam, I was thinking like soccer.
Oh no,
Because he's
American,
British.
Norte Americano.
You're
football.
talking about, is it Colin Kaepernick?
That's right. Yeah, Colin Kaepernick.
I kind of like that guy, though I don't know anything about football.
Yeah, he seems cool. He's not playing football, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
They drummed him out of the game.
Right.
The next letter. We diverged very far from that first. L. Andre, Youngstown, Ohio. Dear editor, I see your tricky little pen has stirred up some LOVE among the Legionnaires. Not that I'm against it, but how did those little romances start? Did Mon-El save Shadowlass's life? How did Lightlass get interested in Timberwolf? Get with it, man. And the editor says, how do people usually fall in love? They meet and something clicks. It's not big heroics and dramatic rescues that do the trick. It's what a person is. Did you know that Lois Lane never fell for Superman until he had temporarily lost his powers? So she saw the man instead of the hero.
I don't remember that issue.
I don't either.
Maybe he's referring to Superman too. It isn't out yet.
Yeah, that's only 15 years after this. And she loves Superman no matter what. Like the instant she saw Superman, she loved him.
Unlike Clark Kent, who's just a tool. He's boring to her.
She hates Clark Kent. Like, hates him. Can't stand the guy.
Right.
I was watching that Superman this week, that movie. Like when Superman comes and meets her.
Did he blow her brains out?
He pulls out real fast. He blows a hole in the pillow instead. When Superman comes to have his interview with her, and they do that stupid, like, can you read my mind? Do you know what you do to me?
That's
like
the
that
worst.
shit?
That is the worst scene in the whole movie. I always skip over that.
It was so annoying. Yeah. Anyway, Superman, they have their interview. He sees her underwear. They fly. He drops her. And then he goes back to her awesome, like, she's got the best fucking apartment. This penthouse thing where you can see. Like, I don't know how she affords this. But he drops her off. He splits. And then who knocks at the door? It's me, Clark. We had a date tonight, remember? She's like, oh yeah. I had 20 orgasms just looking at Superman, but oh yeah, let's go to dinner. Why did she have a date with Clark Kent? She hates this guy. She despises this guy. He's such a loser.
He's just backup if nothing else works out.
But she knew that she was about to meet Superman tonight at 8 o'clock. And she still tried to keep a date with Clark Kent. Why? He sucks. And then the ice on the cake is like, he's like, hey, I thought we could go out someplace fun. Let's just go get a hamburger. He turns out to be a total nerd. I mean, we know he's a total loser, but he pluses it. He makes us realize he's more of a loser than we even imagined. But she still keeps a date with him, and she goes for a hamburger and a soda pop with this guy.
Right. I don't know what her angle is.
How do people usually fall in love? That's what Mort says to this letter writer.
He's like, well, you probably have never had a girlfriend. So let me explain to you how it works.
I mean, I think these are a good question to ask. They don't usually tell how these Legionnaires get together in these comics. Like they have the ongoing storyline of Duo Damsel lusting after Superboy. And I guess they sort of hinted originally at a relationship between Shadowlass and Brainiac 5, maybe. Yeah. But after a certain point, it's just a foregone conclusion that Shadowlass and Mon-El are attached, and Lightlass and Timberwolf are attached. But they don't have the meet cute story.
I feel like maybe Karate Kid and Projectra had a little bit of an arc where they were
Yeah, a little bit of courting, kind of.
right.
But I actually, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not sure they did. I think that might have been a retroactive thing that Paul Levitz did, because there is a
Oh,
story that Paul Levitz did. But on the other hand, I don't know. Maybe Jim Shooter, because they those two appeared in the same issue together,
right.
in the first appearance together. So maybe that was a Jim Shooter plan.
I don't know if how much of it he developed in the comic, but he must have, because it really I mentioned this before. It seems very strategic, like those four characters, like they all have an important purpose. One is the turncoat, the villain, right? One is the sacrifice, and the other two are the romantic relationship. So those are like
Right.
three like story drivers.
Right. Yeah, they did kind of a good job too of continuing that, like up until the period or the point when Karate Kid was killed.
Mm-hmm.
Though they were unable to loop in Pharaoh Lad. Might have
Right.
been a little more interesting if they had somehow, because they had that Pharaoh Lad's ghost, Crapola.
Yeah.
Like if there was an even tighter bond between those four, that would have been kind of
Yeah.
cool.
For sure.
But they didn't do it too much. When Pharaoh Lad showed up, they also had like the ghost of Chemical King or something, maybe like in the Baxter story,
Right.
and the ghost of all the dead guys, I think, showed up in that issue, in an issue of the Paul Levitz Baxter series.
The one with the green cover that says ghosts.
It just says ghosts on it, yeah.
Yeah. I've always kind of wished they kept Firo Lad around a little bit longer before they killed him. Because it's just too obvious that he was brought in to be killed.
But now that you point that out, I like that they had those four intertwined for a little bit.
Right, right.
Yeah, they should have kept one of them around a little bit longer. Because, yeah, there's the romantic story between Princess Projectra and Karate Kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's the kind of, yeah, the turncoat and like the frame up story between
Right.
Nemesis Kid and Karate
Yeah.
Kid.
Yeah, they kind of burned through a lot of that too fast. I guess it's kind of transparent which one's going to be the bad guy, Nemesis Lad. But
Well, I think in that it's a 2-issue thing. You don't know because they're all four brand new, right?
right. Well, I mean,
But,
because of his name.
Yeah, I suppose so. What was his powers? He has like reflecto powers, kind of, right, or something like that. It's
Yeah,
not
like
Duplicate Boy exactly.
whatever power is needed. Like, I guess if he fought Superboy, maybe he would have kryptonite powers.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah, okay.
Or maybe it matches. I don't remember. It was like whatever their weakness was, he was good at.
Right.
Maybe.
I do kind of like that within these comics. There's these sort of different character configurations that they're linked together, like the way that, eventually Mon-El and Time Trapper, or Cosmic Boy and Time Trapper, or Princess Projector, Karate Kid, Nemesis Kid, are all they're connected to one another. They have their ongoing storylines. They've got sort of complementary, or it's the opposite of complementary. Like their power sets sort of work together or conflict with each other in puzzle piece kind of ways.
Right. The original three are always kind of grouped together.
Yeah, and like that kind of gives you, I don't know, much bigger range of stories you can tell with all those people.
Yeah.
Once you consider that there are, 25 of them, and you have these different sets of arrangements that you could do. You will absolutely never run out of stories. There's no reason they should ever be boring stories.
Right.
Unfortunately, not everyone thinks the way I do. Some of these guys, they want boring stories, I guess, because they wrote a bunch of them.
The other good thing, it's also kind of smart that they brought them all together like they're a class. Like Levitz kind of did that later in the Baxter series. Because then those characters have that common thing, like they're a group of newcomers within this older team.
Yeah, definitely a good way to keep this going, right? To have like a generational thing.
Yeah.
And I mean, they never played it up too much where Princess Projectra is like, I've only been on the team a short time. Saturn Girl, you've been on the team the whole time. Mm-hmm. They were kind of equals, I guess, just because, I don't know, the nature of the publishing history, I guess. But it kind of probably did happen later on where dudes like Wildfire or somebody clearly is the new kid on the block versus Lightning Lad.
Right.
And they wanted to, even today, they could come up with some new characters, add them to the mix, and have this long generational saga like, all the other sci-fi media, things like Star Trek and Star Wars and Blade Runner and Willow. And,
right, but could they flip back? They'd have to flip back again. Like they'd just have to go back to the one that everybody wants. They'd have to re-retroboot. I don't know.
They don't have to call it a reboot or put the word boot in there at all. You just have to pick up and start from like they did in Superboy 172, same way.
Right.
Because people get that. Nowadays, people get that. You can say this is a sequel to Ghostbusters 2. It's not a sequel to the all-woman Ghostbusters. It's a sequel to Ghostbusters 2. This movie is a sequel to Superman 2. It ignores Superman 3 and 4, right? They do that all the time. People understand that. Because everybody's seen everything. We got the internet now. Just give me a call, DC. Leave a comment in the comment section. Or we have an email address. No one's ever sent me an email on it. We have an email address. It's flightringers@gmail.com. Pretty easy to remember.
You just write in, is it just Jim Lee nowadays?
Oh, who's in charge of DC? I don't even know.
Probably that James Gunn guy.
Yeah.
Don't the movie guys run the publishing now or call the shots?
Probably. Yeah, James Gunn's like, hey, Jim Lee, the fuck? What's the fuck with you also being named James? Change your first name. And Jim is like, okay. Don't dock my pay. I have 20 kids.
He does. He has 10 kids. It's a lot of fucking kids, dude.
He must be married to a triplicate girl. Got her pregnant 4 times.
Yeah.
Twice. I mean, never mind.
I don't know. They got to be like 20 years apart or something.
Michelle Alexander of Grafton, Ohio writes,
Dear Editor, on a news program July 14th, the newscaster said that Neil Armstrong would place his left foot on the moon first. According to adventure number 343, if he does that, he's in trouble. In that issue, Lightning Lad said he broke one of the oldest luck taboos of spacemen by stepping on the world with his left foot first. And that's why he lost an arm. I wrote a letter to Mission Control in Houston and told them of this. It is a strange coincidence, isn't it? Do you think they sent the FBI? Neil Armstrong's going to lose his arm.
Like, what? What'd you say about him? What? Where'd you learn this? Talk. They probably carted her off to the village.
From the prisoner?
Yeah, you can't leave until you tell us. And she's like, I'm not going to tell you. It's in a fucking comic book from 1963. You tell us. Tell us what you know.
I think that's a pretty good letter.
I do too. I think it's a good idea. Good thing to ask. I mean, it just calls them out on like, no, the truth is that, we write comic books when we make up bullshit all the time.
Right. I've got like a split screen in my mind though. Is it like a 14-year-old or a 42-year-old writing it? You know, like
it's kind of a smart question for a little kid, right?
Right.
The editor says, well, Armstrong and the other astronauts returned from the moon without mishap, which helps to prove what Saturn Girl said in that same Legion story you cited. Good and bad luck symbols are all just imagination. That's not what Paul Levitz thinks.
No, the Luck Lords would have something different to say.
Right, the Luck Lords are real. Like there's like the Paul Levitz Luck Lords are actually like they're
eyeballs?
aliens. but they're actually like they control the luck of the universe for real, right? Meanwhile, there were some luck lords who were just like bad guys, right? Like Batman henchmen or something, that level of bad guy.
Right.
I wish Neil Armstrong had lost an arm or something. The next letter, Mark Hedgecoth, Sumter, South Carolina. He's
I know.
he's complaining about the build of Bouncing Boy. As I understand it, he has the power to inflate his abdomen and bounce like a rubber ball. But in issue 380, for example, his midsection is already inflated to abnormal size. Please bring back the good old slim, trim Bouncing Boy. And the editor doesn't do anything to suggest that different body types are just a fact of life. I don't remember a time when Bouncing Boy was slim. He's always been a chubby guy. Here and there, I suppose they change it, but
if I remember right, in his origin, he was already heavy. Maybe not as heavy as he ended up once he got the power, but he had kind of a gut. But then he lost his power for a little while in the Silver Age, and then he was really skinny. So I wonder if that's what this guy saw, and this whoever's answering these letters doesn't even know.
Well, in that case, that would mean this letter writer is asking for the return of Bouncing Boy without any powers,
right?
So he can be slim instead of
fat. There was like this really weird joke worked into that too. Like he was finally skinny, and he's like, I can finally get the girl I wanted or something, and it's a really obese girl.
Like, I kind of remember that. Embarrassing.
A little embarrassing.
The editor says that Bouncing Boy is fat. Getting him to be slim again won't be easy because he's been eating things like malts, sundaes, and Dagwood sandwiches. Our younger viewers won't know what a Dagwood sandwich is.
Right.
It comes from the comic strip Blondie. The husband is this guy named Dagwood, and in the middle of the night, he'll wake up and he'll make a sandwich that's like 4 feet tall with a lot of layers of stuff out of his fridge because he's so hungry. He's not like Bouncing Boy. He's a thinner guy, but he eats a big sandwich, and they call it a Dagwood sandwich.
Yeah, what do they call them these days?
Nobody eats like that, I don't think.
But don't they have like those sandwiches that have like breakfast, lunch, and dinner on them, or they have like like fish, pork, and they like have every conceivable,
like a turducken sandwich.
Right.
I don't know, who would they name that after? Is there like a crazy eater on TV? Like, I think gone are the days when you will name something after a comic strip character. That died out in like 1950, right? Now you'd have to name it after the sandwich that Adam Sandler ate in Grown Ups 3 or something, right? And it would be the Sandler Witch or something stupid like that.
Sandler Witch. Yeah, because you have all those ice creams named after celebrities, right?
Like Cherry Garcia.
Right. Right, there's a bunch of dumb ones like that, though. There's like a Colbert ice cream. I don't know.
Oh, I'm trying to think of like the George Clooney sandwich. But see, he's not known as even Adam Sandler, they're not known as people who have like a compulsion to eat. I don't know who is known as a compulsive eater in mainstream.
Like Homer Simpson is kind of that. He has a lot of Dagwood-like qualities.
Right. Does he have a Homer sandwich? Like, if you don't understand Dagwood sandwich, think Homer Simpson sandwich. Nobody else is like that. I think that's just the thing that it's a thing we don't emphasize anymore in shows, that this person is a glutton. They don't talk about that anymore. Because everybody has
Subway guy
kind of dietary needs. Oh, geez. Norman Bailey of Pine City, New York. Dear editor, why don't the Legionnaires use Dream Girl as an early warning system? She could use her prophetic power to tell if someone would try to defeat them and what the enemy's battle plan would be. Then no one would be able to sneak up on the Legion. Use her as an early warning system. She's just an object, just to be used.
She doesn't dream on demand.
The trouble is, Dream Girl doesn't get premonitions of every event, and even when she does, it doesn't always help the Legion, as the story in this issue will demonstrate. This issue being Adventure Comics 384,
Mm-hmm.
when her stupid premonition causes all the problems.
Right.
We didn't really talk about that. Maybe we should have talked about that. Like, if she hadn't said anything, probably wouldn't have been a problem, right?
Isn't that how all of these stories work out? They're always kind of like that self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, it's fucked up. Like, fucking Dream Girl's like, hey, I had this dream. He's going to die. And the next thing you know, it's in the stupid newspaper that he's going to die. And so some dude shows up to try and avert the death, and it kills him.
Right.
How about you just keep your fucking mouth shut, Dream Girl?
I kind of like Dream Girl now. She's sort of my favorite character to think of interesting things to do with. But I used to
yeah, me too.
I used to despise her because it just seemed like such a pointless character. Like, they're in the middle of the action and like Chameleon Boy's like, well, I'll turn into a pterodactyl and fly up there. And Lightning Lad's like, well, I'll electrify the floor. And she's like, I'm going to go find a place to take a nap and see if I can predict something for you guys real quick. It just seemed like such a passive power. I think she really, having read all those issues, I think she has the most potential to be a cool character. Like, she's the most unutilized character. Even when she gets a lot of screen time, like with Paul Levitz, he just makes her more annoying when she could actually be a very useful character.
In what way? Like, what's an idea of something that she could do to be useful?
First of all, she's like almost as smart as she's not as smart as Brainiac 5, but she's the second smartest. Smart enough to come up with a concoction that can change Lightning Lass's powers into anti-gravity powers, for instance.
Well, right, but how does that use her dreaming power?
Well, then they've slowly expanded it, like we talked about before. Like, sometimes she seems to be able to predict where someone's going to punch and block a punch, that kind of thing. Then, I think, this is just a theory with me, but I think it would be interesting if she, somehow through her powers, she is aware of all the different iterations of the Legion. Like, every time it reboots, like, she can remember being in the previous version. You're like, no, that's fucking dumb.
No, why would that happen in her dreams, though? Like, that's not a dream thing to dream your...
Well, maybe she can dream and remember the previous realities.
But I think that's a new power. Like, anyone could be a good character. And like any boring person character, like, sure, if you add interesting powers to them, yeah, make them interesting and change them entirely. But like, what about Dream Girl as she is? What can you do with that?
She can do her nails. No, I don't know. No, I think it fits in to like her possibly able to see all possibilities of all potential like futures. You could sort of rationalize an excuse for her somehow being aware of different realities through that. I really should have tried to explain this to you at the beginning of the night, not the end.
You should smoke some weed and then try to explain it.
Yeah, it'll get even better.
I wish we knew more about what dreams are.
Are we done? I have no idea.
It was that Dream Girl thing was the last letter. Yeah, that was the letters page. Action Comics 384. Get with it, man.